Let's talk about unique creatures and pets as rewards for your players. Hello everyone, and welcome back down here to the Gamer's Den with me, your host, Jordan, your Master of Lore and Storyteller Extraordinaire, here to talk to you about giving your players unique pets as a reward, or letting them adopt the different thinking, feeling, and self-aware NPCs that are out there. Because it's going to happen. Maybe not now, maybe not tomorrow, but soon and for the rest of your campaign. You will have at least one player that is hell-bent on adopting every single thing and everyone that they can, whether it's through handle animal, diplomacy, magic, or whatever other means they may have at their disposal. They are going to do it, and God help you, the dice help you, it's going to happen. It's going to happen eventually, and it's always going to be, it just seems to always be that one thing that just really the players really shouldn't have their hands on, that they shouldn't sink those emotional claws of friendship into, and it's going to play merry hell with your campaigns. So you want to think about it ahead of time because, well, it is a complication. It is another thing to think about and remember, but every problem is an opportunity in disguise. Every adopted NPC, whether pet or friend, found family, however they slice it, is another tool in your toolkit overall for telling a good story. It's another vector for adding in new elements. But before we get into all of that, if you're new here to the channel, then go on down there, hit the subscribe button, and become a regular member here at the Gamer's Den. Or if you've already gone on ahead and listed yourself on such an incredible roster of legendary heroes, then go on down to hit the like button and share the video far and wide. But now let's actually talk about unique, interesting pets, NPC friends, and what to do about them and where to find them. Where to find them is the easier part. It is wherever the players damn well feel like it. Wherever they go, aw, cute, kitty, even though it's a rabid displacer beast, they are going to try to adopt it. If it's a howler, if it's a howler it's one of those creatures where its face peels back to reveal the skull plate beneath and these wide staring eyes. 3rd edition creature, they will try to adopt that because they'll go, ooh, scary, that's cool, that's fun. They'll adopt blink dogs, they'll adopt fiendish crocodiles, they will find that goblin that's been trying to shank them with poison blades in their sleep and go, ah, stabby friend, and bring them into the found family. And they'll win them over with a combination of treats, magic, and just kind words and not trying to take revenge on the goblin. They'll get confused and go, maybe these things are worth keeping around. Maybe they're worth not killing. New tribe, new friends, new army. However it goes, it's going to happen. And the players are going to figure it out, and it may very well feel frustrating or infuriating at first, because these are so many different things for you to have to keep track of, and it can get kind of dangerous, even if you are paying attention, power scaling, whether it's challenge ratings or just whatever power level or measurement that there is there for the different creatures that might get adopted. It's still essentially another character sheet on the battlefield, even if it's not an animal companion in the same vein as the druid's animal companion, or the rangers, or the eidolon that a summoner can bring out. It's still another body on the battlefield. It's more flanking opportunities, it's potentially spell-like abilities, and that can be very, very dangerous. So, step 1 is limiting how much of that you're throwing out there to the players. Now, that's going to get tricky because you want to challenge them with unique and interesting things, but a handy thing with sentient creatures is that they don't have to stay adopted. They can become friends, but friends don't necessarily go to bat and fight to the death for their friends. They might, do them favors now and then. They might let them have a place to stay, provide shelter, all of that, maybe even some services. And a few, yes, will fight on behalf of their companions, but there's limits to those things generally. I mean, there can be some exceptions, but those exceptions are what really make those bonds of friendship just all the more unique and worthwhile. worthwhile. So you don't have to say yes and let the players have every single intelligent NPC be a friend. Or at least be that kind of a friend, that kind of depth where they will just go to bat for each other at the drop of a hat. No, you don't have to do that. But on occasion, let those kinds of friendships develop organically, naturally over the course of the story, and man, you've just got something that is so much better. And like I said before, it's another tool in the kit overall. While I don't recommend killing every single NPC that the players adopt, if there's one in particular that kind of sticks out just a little bit, that's a little bit of a party favorite, where even that stern, serious, lawful neutral paladin kind of has the corners of their mouth twerk upwards just a little bit in the ghost of a smile, that might be an NPC that's worth picking off just for the emotional stakes in the story. Not cheaply and not out of the blue. Make sure it fits and is organic to the story. You don't want just same idea with shocking gore, violence, or horrible scenes. You know, if you're going to be a cheap shock jock about it, you know, it's not super compelling, and it also will mean that your players are less likely to be super invested in these NPCs. But if you let them keep a lot of them around, make all these friends, set down really good roots, let them just become ingrained and enmeshed within these different communities, well, picking one, maybe two of the fan favorites off now and then, well, once in a campaign or so, that can really up the emotional stakes and really get them invested in taking down the campaign's big bad, whoever they might be. Whatever shared views and interests they might have, or points that they might agree with the big bad on, they'll still be super invested in taking that guy down, or gal, or person, thing, whatever points in between it might be, because it might be an outsider, elemental. I'm getting off topic here. When it comes to unique pets, though, things that are not sentient, self-aware, or at least have that same degree of an intellect that you might find with, say, goblins, kobolds, troglodytes, creatures like that. You know, you have your griffins, demigryphs, hippogriffs, hippocampi. You have howlers, and then not aboleths. Oh goodness, my brain is fried right now. Did not sleep, but you have a veritable zoo of so many different creatures, a wide collection and vast swathe of unique and interesting animals that you can provide to your players. And I highly encourage that you homebrew plenty of your own, because even if it's an innocuous, relatively ineffective NPC pet creature, if it's unique and interesting because you've homebrewed it, then the players are going to want that. They're going to look at that unique thing and go, ooh, I want the unique, rare, shiny. I want it for myself. And you're playing on those gamer, collector, hoarder instincts that a lot of gamers just generally seem to have, myself included. Say you have an iron build toucan that, you know, it picks at metallic or iron-rich sources of minerals and the like, and it absorbs them. Its beak becomes harder and harder, more refined, eventually developing these unique, almost artistic stylings that run along the surface of the bill, and the older ones who've really gotten to feast well will start developing unique crests that run along the length of that bill and rise up through the skull and become part of the feathers. It really becomes this unique and interesting display. Players will jump all over that. Sure, you know, you can give it like, oh, it does 1d4 damage, and because, you know, it's iron, it's wrought iron, you could even technically call it cold iron, it will have some unique properties against the Fae. But that's a unique and specific instance, and it's an instance where, hey, this random creature that we got that we don't dare ever use or throw into any fights is actually really handy at helping protecting us and fighting off different kinds of Fae creatures, especially sprites. It's perfectly suited for fighting off all those annoying pesky little brownies and sprites that might flit about and otherwise harass and make the lives of players miserable. So that can be a really interesting and unique creature to homebrew, put together, and throw out there to your players. And really, you're only limited by your imagination and what it is exactly you're willing to do or let them have. And gosh, you have so many options. It's a route I really encourage you going with because, you know, while I said earlier that some creatures that you might give to your players, or at least, you know, that they might end up trying to adopt and bring into the fold, part of the pack, made part of the panoply that they have on their wandering circus, in providing them these smaller, interesting, unique homebrewed creatures, you remove the threat of having a powerful battlefield force with a creature that is sometimes useful, but mostly is just great to look at, and you're not also giving them magic items that they will just glom onto and use, because sometimes even the most innocuous of magic items, when used by a creative player, will play merry hell with your campaign. More so than a deck of many things can sometimes. I know some DMs call it the magic item that ruins games, and it can be, but creative players with magic items are just going to find ways to completely shaft you, the challenges, and whatever is in the way. So you're going to have to think quick on your feet regardless, and this is one area, it's an avenue for you to reward them with something unique and interesting that's not just money, gems, wealth, metal, fame, pay raises, and magic gear. No, it's a creature. It's a unique status symbol in some cases. Like, well, during the opening one-shot for a campaign that actually turned into the whole steampunk high fantasy setting that I keep gassing on about off and on, the first players in that campaign, they ended up saving the life of the Corvarian Emperor's own personal warhound, and his request was, well, the next litter that comes from this warhound, I want one of the pups. So he's got this purebred high-end warhound that it's still a puppy and it's going to take time to grow, and it'll eventually turn into a pretty cool companion. But, you know, he didn't want a magic item that would have been reasonably well within the Emperor's ability to award and give to the player. No, he opted for a creature, a pet, something to follow him around with, that he's going to take the time to raise and care for and develop this relationship with, and have this really good bond that just adds to the character, to the setting, to the story overall. And that kind of storytelling, I mean, it's just perfect. It's just absolutely perfect, and is something well worth doing and exploring and taking a look at as an optional vector when compared to things like you know, gold, gems, all those glittery, shiny things. It's definitely an interesting route, and one that I really recommend you look into, because, man, the kind of stories that you can end up telling, it's just fantastic. But what do you think? Go on down to the comments below and let me know your thoughts. Did you like today's video? Did you dislike it? Let me know your thoughts down below, and let me know if you want me to keep expanding on and going into different ideas like this. Certainly I like delving into different unique items and rewards and ways of creatively rewarding players and coming up with just cool story ideas. So let me know your thoughts down below, and remember, if you're new here to the Gamers Den, go on down there, hit the subscribe button, and become a regular member here. But with all that said, I've been your host, Jordan, your Master of Lore and Storyteller Extraordinaire. Thank you all so very much for your time, and you all have yourselves a good night.